There you go.
Good morning, anglers. Welcome to this week's Indian Lake Fishing Report, brought to you by Mike's Bait and Tackle, Route 235, Lakeview, Ohio. This report's for the week of 5/20/2021. The current water temperature is estimated at 73 degrees. And if any of you local bait makers might happen to have one of your logos that would fit on one of my coffee cups that you'd like to see displayed in my weekly fishing reports, get a hold of me. Comment below or find me on Facebook. Send me an instant message or whatever. We got a special report for you this morning. A lot of things are happening down at the lake. A lot of changes for the good. Let's talk about the dredger and the weed machine. The dredger, it's been working at Moundwood and back in the Lake Shores area, so be cautious of them. And the dredger, that's a pretty good sized machine there. I think they're dredging like 8 foot a sludge or whatever out of the Moundwood area, and I think 4 back in Lake Shores area. So those, we're already getting reports that those are becoming hot spots. So those are soon to become a real hot spot, and especially this fall. I mean, that's where a lot of the hot bites are gonna happen. And I don't mean to say that to flood them areas, because that's probably what's gonna happen, but that's gonna be some really good fishing for you. Weed machine's been cleaning some of the game reserve channels and the reporting mixed bags back in them channels. Let's talk about bass. Right now, largemouth bass bite is really hot, and I broke out a couple tackle boxes here. I'll show you guys what you need to be using here. Right now, your best friend is topwater frog. That's what you need to be using. That's one of the Walmart cheapy dollar ones. That's a scum frog. That's about an $8 one. What's the difference? $7. They both work the same. I've had good success on both. That's up to you. You want to use that name brand or that cheapy? They come in a couple different colors. And I think a lot of you know I'm big on American-made products. I try to push them, especially local bait makers. I just happen to have a couple tackle boxes full of stuff from back in the day. I've probably got 100 spinner baits and guess what? They're the dollar cheapies. They do just the same. But that's what's killing them right now. And work them right over top of the weeds. They float, and they'll take on some water. You gotta squeeze the water out of them every once in a while. Now, if you want to up your game, a while back, Bass King LLC sent me a kit, and it's a hybrid frog. It's a buzzing banshee toad. Okay, the whole box of them here, all different flavors. This, my friends, will up your game. Look at that, topwater frog and a buzz bait. That there, my friends, that's it. You can find them on Facebook. Bass King LLC. Along with that kit, here's a couple other ones. Man, they come in some great colors. And I've had great success on them. There's some bad little lures. Look at that. Along with that kit he put together for me, he sent me the infamous Whopper Plopper. Now, for those of you that don't know what a Whopper Plopper is, I call it the world's most dangerous lure. Go to a Whopper Plopper page and see how many of these guys got these hooks stuck in them. Why? I don't know, but tail spins, makes all kinds of noise, makes that water pop. Very effective topwater bait. There's nothing like that big topwater explosion. Alright, now that we're done with the topwater bass stuff, and these things are tried and true, they work. Let's move on to the sawguy bite. That sawguy bite, man, is just, it's still hot. And I mean, we've been so fortunate this year. The weather's been up and down, but you know, we've got those cool nights again. The water temperature's been staying down, and the bite's been good, which leads me to believe we're probably going to have an early fall or a fall type temperature on the water. I don't know, unless it gets real hot again for the next couple weeks. But that fall bite's right around the corner, so make sure you get stocked up on your fall bite stuff. And what you need to be using right now that's hot are your jerk baits. I think this just happens to be a crackle clown, but there's a lot of companies that make them jerk baits. They all range in price, different prices. M. Lambert makes a killer product. He's got some pretty bad looking lures that work, and them guys are getting some nice size sawguy on them. But that's what's working, and they're throwing them from the bank and out on the main lake. They're still trolling some areas and getting mixed bags trolling. Crappie. The crappie are, I'll tell you what, I didn't make it to the lake this week, but I did fish some different bodies of water. And I caught some pretty big catfish and some honker slabs. Crappie, man, I was tearing them up. And this goes back to, some of you might have seen a post. I posted something like, hey, I smell crappie this morning. I was looking at the Weather Channel the night before. When I walked out in the morning, it was raining, but it was kind of hazy, overcast, and it was supposed to be cloudy that day. And if you remember, a couple weeks back in one of my fishing reports, I was talking about using a notepad and making documentation about those days that you had success on, and what the conditions were, or the days that you got skunked. And eventually you would recognize that condition. Well, I was like, man, oh man, this looks like a day I remember slaughtering a bunch of fish. So I packed up some stuff, headed on over to a reservoir. And man, I'll tell you what, I was killing the crappie. And I thought, man, you know, this is just kind of odd for being August, middle of August, man. Dog days of summer. But, you know, here we are. I'm not going to complain. And another tip I wanted to show you about crappie fishing, and this will produce some mixed bag stuff, and it's very cheap. Right here, crappie bites. I think they're they're the cheapest brand of these little nibbles. I think they're like $1.98. I keep a couple of them in my bag. God, there must be 500 of them in there. I don't know. There's a ton. You put them on your hook, squeeze them on there. They dissolve, and but it takes more than a half hour to dissolve one. They stink. Whatever it is smells good to the crappie. They work well. I've caught big mixed bags on them. Some days I might get bored and just pop one on something, just see what I get. But and if you want to up your game with these yet, bust out some of those old forgotten tube baits. Jam that tube full of these. I'm telling you, it works. The big cat. I tell you what, man. Catch you some of them bluegills. Them flatheads are still on fire right now. Head to the islands or out on the main lake, out in that area. Maybe off Pew Island in that area. Send you some bait. Them flatheads are fun. And if you really want to do it right, get on Facebook. Look up Tosh Collins at Rad Cats Tackle and Josh Henline at Henline Outdoors. Henline makes the cat calls. If you pair those two rigs up with the Mad Cat's rig and the cat call from Henlines, it's a deadly combination for your flatheads. And them guys will even give you a little instruction on what's going to help you with having a successful day, night, weekend, whatever on the water. Them guys are great. So make sure you visit them. They'll teach you how to catch them big flatheads. The perch are on fire back in Black Hawk. They're catching them on night crawlers and minnows, man. And you can do it whatever way you want to do it. They're just getting them good. The fall bite, man, like I said, is just around the corner. Make sure you go stock up on what you need. The other week when I was talking about things are probably going to get rough, if you noticed last year when we had this pandemic thing, last year and ever since, if you go to the big box stores, the stock on the shelves was very, very limited. 1 week or 1 month you couldn't find sinkers or hooks, or you might have just a couple baits here and there, and then at one point you might see the store get stocked up fairly good, but it didn't last long. Well, I think it was last week one of the ports in China, one of the main exporters, closed their ports. And that effect's going to come down on us here pretty quick. And it's going to affect everything, I don't know the percentage, but I'm going to say 80-90% of shit comes out of China. And that brings up another thing. While I push American-made baits and your local tackle makers and shops, bait and tackle shops, them are your mom and pop shops. Them are your entrepreneurs. Them are the guys that keep you fishing. Support them, keep them going, and they're going to keep you catching fish. That's American pride. To me, it don't matter what that costs. You can't put a price on it. So, the white bass are still on fire. And they pop up anywhere and everywhere. They still seem to be hot for some reason over by the Moundwood area. Something's keeping them there. And that something has to be bait fish. Okay? And here's another little tip. Keep your eye on the birds up there in the sky. When they land on the water, you see them beaks go in the water? That's where you need to be casting out that way. That beak is eating bait fish. Okay? Now, whether you want to call bait fish shad or minnows, it doesn't matter. Either one. That's where you need to be fishing. Where there's bait fish, there's predator fish. So keep your eyes open. It will help you. The bluegill are starting to light up, man, which surprised me. But back in Dunn's Pond, They're getting big bluegill deep. I just seen a report somebody caught one on a topwater buzzbait out on the main lake. It was a honker. Another report around the islands are getting them on jigs with wax worms. Things are firing. I mean, really back up. It to me, it almost seems like the fall bite's starting to happen right now, but I could be wrong. But I think it is, and it's odd. Channel cats, they're catching them all around, everywhere. That bite's been good. Man, them white bass. I tell you what, I would probably start at Moundwood looking for them white bass and work your way on over to Dream Bridge. Moundwood, since they're dredging that, like I said, there's been reports they're starting to catch some cat down through that channel and saugeye and then the crappie. So you're going to get mixed bags there. Get out those shallow diving crankbaits. Work those bank lines and weed lines on the lakes and the channels. They're going to produce quite a bit for you. You can get a big mixed bag out of one of these. This popper's another great option for topwater. Don't forget about that. Don't forget about these topwater buzzbaits. Pair them up with a trailer. Nail them big bass. If you want to downsize, you'll be surprised what these little pond magic spinner baits will do for crappie. I just happened to pair that one up with a crawdad. I've nailed quite a few crappie on these. There's a lot of things we forget about. A lot of things we leave buried in our tackle box and just go to our go-to baits. Sometimes I like to just experiment for the day. It gets pretty interesting and it usually produces a big mixed bag for me. So make sure you dig deep in your tackle box this weekend and do a little bit of experimenting. It always pays off. Don't forget, Mike's Bait and Tackle has a brand new shipment of ACC crappie sticks coming in, and they should be in either today or this coming week. Make sure you check with him, man, because I'm telling you, every time he gets them, they're gone. So get in there and get you one of them sticks. Like I said last week, I'm going to have me one. I've been looking for a second or third crappie pole for this season. And don't forget, man, with that fall bite is better or just as good as spring, man. I mean, it's crazy. It's a feeding frenzy. So I hope today I shared a few things with you that will help you produce more fish. And I'm not the best in the world. I'm just sharing reports that I'm getting that are reliable reports and from things that I've caught and techniques that I've used. Nothing is set in stone when it comes to techniques. Techniques are a guideline. You could put a piece of shoe leather on something and maybe you might catch something. There's no set rules. So mix things up. Have a good, safe weekend. Tight lines, people. I hope you do well.